Steve Morrison, also known online as Shade to Grey. And we're talking about my sculpture, the Spice Must Flow, which is a sculpture commemorating the 50th year anniversary of the publication of the book Dune by Frank Herbert. And the sculpture basically consists of a giant sandworm who's been attracted to a spice harvester by the vibrations, and a couple of carryalls rushing in to save the spice. Well, because they can't save the harvester, and honestly, they care more about the spice than they do about the crew of the harvester. So I guess those guys are just out of luck. But the things I particularly liked about this build was that it uses a lot of odd angles and things simulating curves, and I really like working with Lego in non-traditional ways, trying to get curves and flowing shapes out of things. I also like the design of the ornithopter carryalls. In the book, they're described as being inspired by nature, birds and dragonflies and things like that. So I wanted something that looked a lot more, insect-like than plane-like, and try to capture that shape in in a very dynamic and light structure, because it's more in keeping with the spirit of the books than either the TV series or the movies have been in terms of.
Would you say that your builds are more representative of the books themselves and your interpretation of them?
My interpretation of the books, yeah. I completely ignored the descriptions or screenshots from the sci-fi miniseries, and I'm largely trying to live in denial about the fact that the David Lynch movie ever existed. I kind of think that if you're going to make a movie about Dune, you should probably read the source material first.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
Things. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned that way.
Things, yeah, who needs that?
So what's the structure like on the big worm then? What's it like inside there?
The worm is actually made out of 4 segments, and each segment has a Technic heart. And I've used Technic on the inside in basically a mortise and tenon sort of design, so that at each tier, the input cup is at one angle and the output tenon is at a different angle. So I'm allowed to shift it. So from the base to the first segment, we shift it to the left. From the second segment to the third segment, we shift it forward. And then the last segment going into the head shifts it forward again. So you get a sweeping curve. And then the entire thing is cantilevered in the giant Technic L brace running through the base to prevent the thing from leaning forward. Yeah. So basically, it's a big Technic L underneath the whole thing that's holding it in place, and then it breaks down into smaller parts. I think it looks cool, but it's also a very tedious build. I actually started this last fall, and it was sufficiently repetitive building the worm segments that I got about halfway through and wound up building an entirely different mock before I came back to finish this, just because I was getting bored with it. And I actually, in developing a lot of the techniques for doing the shaping and all that sort of thing, a lot of the rejected ideas actually wound up in a lighthouse sculpture I've got on the other side of the room.
Okay.
So my lighthouse is basically a failed sandworm.
That is interesting. So it's like the techniques that you were using to kind of do this mock, you were able to kind of, maybe this is applicable to something else that I want to work with.
I had a good idea at the wrong time, so I just put it on the shelf and break it out.
I would say a happy accident.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, really cool. So do you like doing the rock work and stuff as well, or is that kind of one of the tougher part for you in the build?
I tend to do that relatively quickly, because what I find with the rock work or the sand or the contouring, if I think about it, it doesn't look natural. So the trick to doing effective rock work is to just have a lot of parts on hand and to build quickly without really thinking about it, and just grab a random part and say, it's in my hand, I'm going to put it down somewhere. Put it down, attach it to the structure, move on to the next piece. Because the moment you start trying to come up with a plan as to what it's supposed to look like or things like that, it starts looking like you were building it rather than it was growing. So I try to be very organic when it comes to the rock work and shifting sand and other terrain work, things along those lines.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, very cool build. Thank you for showing that to us.
Thank you.